Me when someone tells me drinking is bad for my health.
I'm scared to death.
Me packing my shopping at the supermarket.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
And this was me when my ex-wife told me we were going to stay for a week at her parents' over Christmas. Hello folks and welcome back to the show. Today, top 10 barbershop fragrances. Today I'm actually going to do upscale barbershop fragrances. I might do another video on real cheapy barbershop, literal barbershop type fragrances. Before we get into that, please let me remind you that I'm very proudly collaborating with the Fragrance Decant Boutique website, decantboutique.com. That is my recommended USA-based site for all your fragrance sampling needs, an amazing range of designer and niche scents. And I've got a code for you. The code Mr. Smelly 10 gets you 10% off across the sites. If you are in the UK, I am equally proud to be collaborating with my good friends at Fragrance Samples UK, where they have an absolutely phenomenal range of fragrances, designer and niche. And again, that code Mr. Smelly 10 gets you 10% off. My recommended fragrance sampling site in the UK, both sites down there, linked in the description of this video. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. Barbershop fragrances. So this is, okay, what is a barbershop fragrance? To me, a barbershop fragrance is a masculine, dapper, spick and span, crisp and clean type of fragrance. Very often, it doesn't have to be, it can be an aromatic fougere type fragrance, so something with that kind of combination of lavender, some green notes in the beginning, maybe a tonka bean in the base, maybe a fern-like aura. If we think of things like Brut from Fabergé would be a typical example. You can also have more of a citrus aromatic style barbershop fragrance, and these are very common. If we ever go to a Turkish barbershop, they have these very cheap lemony sprays that smell really good, and I think in Italy and Spain it's similar. Alvarez Gomez, for example, Aqua de Colonia Concentrada, commonly used in Spain. So those are my two kind of types of barbershop fragrance. It's really not that easy to say this is barbershop, this is not. Suffice to say, if something is heavy on really leathery, rich notes, or very sweet and creamy, or perhaps if something is with loads of oud and things in it, that's probably not a barbershop fragrance. You get the idea. Anyway, and maybe slightly old school in their vibe. Let's get stuck into it. 10 absolute crackers for you. Where shall I go first? First up then, we have Nobile 1942. That's the brand, and the fragrance is Fougère Nobile. Beautiful, and these, by the way, these often smell powdery and maybe remind you even of a talcum powder type smell. Fougère Nobile from the brand Nobile 1942, a stunning aromatic fougère from this modern Italian niche brand. It definitely has a very, very dry, powdery aura about it. It's a little bit soapy and fresh and clean. Hints of some floral notes, a hint of some citrus. I think there's a little bit of a grapefruit note to me in the opening. They've got something called a soda water accord. I mean, how does soda water smell? But I kind of get what they mean. And it has this very subtle hint of tobacco in there, which differentiates it from a lot of other smells. Really nice niche fragrance. Absolutely just outstandingly old-fashioned, dapper, gentlemanly stuff, and very powdery. If you don't like powder, you might not like it, but I love that one. So check it out. Fougère Nobile 1942, the brand name there. Another one then, again, incredibly powdery, this one, and it's called Boy, Chanel Boy, from the more expensive end of the Chanel fragrance lineup. And this one, very, very powdery, almost leaning a bit unisex, because it's got quite a bit of floral accord in there. So it has your lavender, it has powdery accords, florals, a bit of citrus in there, beautifully well balanced, and it has that lavender in there, and it just really, really gives off this very dandyish kind of smell, almost a little bit effeminate, but in a really kind of spick and span, classy, and somehow just has that air of Chanel charisma and class that they always have. So Boy de Chanel, if you really want to go in for a powdery floral take on a barbershop style, it's amazing stuff. I really enjoy that one. Don't forget, you can now become a member of my channel. Just click join and you get access to exclusive videos made especially for channel members, and you get back issues of the live streams, which are no longer going to be staying up on my channel. Another thing you can also do is join me on Patreon. If you search Mr. Smelly or click the link in the description, that is where you get an extra weekly podcast from Mr. Smelly, only for Patreon members. Okay, going right back into the 80s, again, you know, it's not as expensive as the niche ones, although if you find a vintage bottle, it might be. Xerius from Givenchy, 1986. Amazing, classic, soapy, clean green, and it has this tiny hint of incense, which at the time was kind of avant-garde. Amazing stuff, Givenchy from Xerius. Very manly, very old school, bit of an 80s vibe. You may not like that, but I do. And the modern reissue is also really good, whichever one you can find. Slightly better in the old bottle, and the bottle design is much more fun, but we don't sweat it too much. So Xerius from Givenchy, 1986. Really, really good stuff. The other two were sort of modern releases. I won't bore you with every year of every fragrance. Okay, has to be in the list, doesn't it? Sort of one of the ultimates in this style. Sartorial from Penhaligon's, themed after a barber's workshop in Jermyn Street in London. And I think it's Norton & Sons, actually, Norto, and different to my surname. And this one's really nice. So it has an accord of kind of metallic scissor accord, a steam press accord, and your usual lavender and herbal accords. Again, very dandyish, very spick and span, dressed up well in a suit type of thing. And if you imagine going to a really fancy upscale barbershop, they might just dab some powder on your neck, some talcum powder that, if you were really lucky, smelled something like that. Really enjoy this one. Absolutely superb fragrance, and I think reasonably priced for niche. I'm not going to go through all the prices for all of them because it gets a bit dull, doesn't it? Okay, something different then. Acqua di Parma Colonia, the original. I think it's a barbershop scent. It's a fantastic citrus aromatic. Notes, actually, I'll give you the full note listing. Lemon, sweet orange, bergamot, lavender, Bulgarian rose, verbena, rosemary, vetiver, sandalwood and patchouli. So this one is a citrus aromatic European style. It's an Italian brand barbershop scent. And again, it is soapy, it is fresh, it has lavender, it has that sort of dapper talcum powder aura, but it's a little bit more citrusy leaning, and I really, really, really enjoy this. Perfect for really hot weather. Love Colonia, the original, and there are great flankers to that, but let's not get into those. Next up, Bon Monsieur from the fantastic Rogue Perfumery. Bon Monsieur from Rogue Perfumery is a fantastic evocation of these slightly powerhouse-leaning fragrances of the 80s. Green, piney, mossy, and it definitely has that masculine undertone, reminiscent of things like Gucci and Nobile and some of the other powerhouse greats of the mid to late 80s. Czar from Van Cleef, from Arpels too. An indie niche perfumer, Manuel Cross, has created this one. If you want a green and sharp fragrance with that manly old school barbershop aura, that dad smell. I guess a barbershop smells a bit of a dad smell, right? This has it, and I mean that in a really good way. Amazing artisanal niche fragrance, and reasonably priced compared to some of your more hyped up niche brands. I'm going to be really annoying and put my own brand in here. Norton & Wilson Gravitas was conceived really as our take on the ultimate upscale barbershop fragrance. So this has your citruses, it has your lavender, and it has patchouli and a bit of vanilla in the base. So it's a little bit of a spicy and just semi-sweet but very powdery as well fragrance, with a real patchouli kick of masculinity in the undertones there. A really great recommendation for you. Obviously, it's my brand, so I am biased, but I've got to tell you, it's had amazing reviews over the years since we released it way back in 2020. So check that one out. You can go to Norton & Wilson, linked in the description there. Next up, then, a designer one, Yves Saint Laurent's Rive Gauche Pour Homme. It smells like the best shaving foam ever. Again, lavender, a twist of anise, giving it a licoricey thing, and again, very powdery, very clean, very soapy, and just very unique. But this is the most barbershop smelling. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it reminds me of some kind of hair lacquer or Brill cream. I don't know, but it is very, very... There's just something about it that somehow has this atavistic thing where you look back in time and there must be some barbershop that I've smelled that smells like this. I can almost see that cutthroat razor for the back of the neck or whatever. Amazing. Rive Gauche Pour Homme, hard to find. Good luck, it's discontinued. Okay, next up, love this brand, Milano Cento Him. I think that's how Milano Cento. 1989 original release, fantastic English-based brand, and the fragrance is sort of inspired by all things Italian, obviously by the name. And they were away for quite a few years, and then they re-emerged in 2016. They've re-released it as an eau de toilette or an eau de parfum. I find the scent profile similar. The eau de parfum will give you a richer concentration, maybe a little bit more longevity, but I also find the eau de toilette, which you can get in a fantastic 50ml size, great value for money, really fantastic, very complex and rich sort of barbershop type fragrance. So definitely citrusy, loads of herbs and aromatics in there, very complex. I can't sort of pick out all the notes. A little bit spicy, I think there's some cinnamon in there, and these kind of warming camphorous undertones in the base. Really, really sophisticated, really has that kind of old school, old money, classy gentleman vibe, but not in an old-fashioned, dated way. It would just be a great choice for a man of any age, great work scent, I think fine on dates. A lot of women do like these fragrances that remind them of their dad and that kind of thing. So I really love Milano Cento Him. Fantastic and insanely great prices for a really, really wonderful niche brand. I've been a great advocate of them since buying my own bottle, I think, in 2017. A couple to go. Tom Ford's Beau de Jour. I'd forgotten how. I don't know why I keep like not mentioning this as much as I should. Barbershop, Tom Ford, originally a private blend, then re-released in the I think it's called the Signature line. Really, really great lavender fragrance with green notes and herbs. Just right up there at the moment as one of my absolute favourites. I get quite a big hit of patchouli off that too. I really like that. That is a really charismatic. If you think of Tom Ford dressed in his very stylish way in his dark suit and white shirt, if he smelled like that, it would just be perfect. And to me, I want to smell him smelling like that rather than one of his oud ones or cafe rose prick or whatever they called it. And this is the classy end of the Tom Ford fragrance line. Beau de Jour, absolutely superb. We've got one more left to go. Invasion Barber, MDCI, very powdery, quite spicy and vanillic. Again, it smells like a really, really expensive talcum powder. Spicy, vanillic, less green and sharp than some of them, less soapy. I think there is grapefruit in there, so there's some citrus elements, but it's very powdery and spicy and beautifully balanced with the lavender too. Creamy almost. One of the most, probably somehow the most expensive smelling of the bunch, and it is quite expensive. MDCI, Invasion Barber. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. If so, why not subscribe? If not, subscribe anyway. Maybe the next video will be better. It could hardly be any worse. We will see you in the next one. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project, and although sometimes life can stink, at least we can always smell good. Bye-bye.
The fragrance I'm talking about is Gravitas Essentia, which is the flanker to Gravitas. It is a really stunning fragrance. And of course, their bottles are absolutely magnificent. They embody my impression of true English sophistication, tradition, honor, and grace.